Hey everybody, welcome in on this Thursday. Got a lot to talk about today, but we got to talk about the weather first. Obviously, going into a Friday, we're going to see some active storms, and I think the big story is going to be the colder temperatures. And yes, I'm saying cold at the beginning of August, because by August standards, this is going to be chilly, even compared to a normal summer. And this summer has been anything but normal. It's been crazy hot. So far, July, today's the last day. We'll wait for the official numbers come in, but this will be the second hottest July in Charlotte's history. So 147 years of record keeping, folks. You just went through the second hottest we have ever seen. And the summer is trending for the most hottest, or I say the highest, the top hottest. I don't know. I'm running out of adjectives for this stuff. But we're going to have a cool streak going into the weekend and next week. So that's going to keep us probably from going too much higher. Let's start with the radar tonight, because we were just talking, Jeb and I, that we've got soccer in Uptown. We've got a match in Uptown, Charlotte FC, coming up in about an hour. And boy, we have some storms heading that way. We've got some big storms over the lake. They're in Huntersville now. They're traveling south. But you can see on our radar, there's that green line. We've talked about this before, but if you're not familiar with this is called an outflow boundary. And what this is, you felt this probably, it's that rush of cool air from a storm that's nearby. And that's the rush of cool air that gets pushed down to the surface by the rain and the downbursts. But what that does, it acts like a mini cold front and actually can start new storms. And because we have another one coming in from the west, there's a collision set over Uptown, and that will cause lift. So I expect probably going to see some development. You can see some developing down near Mint Hill down towards the Matthews area. We're starting to see a couple storms develop down there. That's a good sign that outflow boundary is probably going to get pretty active here over the next couple of minutes. We also got some other storms out there off to the east. This one in Cabarrus and Stanley County has been producing a lot of rain. We've actually seen a couple spots there where we've seen some minor flooding. No flood warnings, but some flood advisories. And then just good old-fashioned rain coming in from the south and west. So we'll have to keep an eye on this evening for lightning delays in Uptown for folks that are heading over to the Charlotte FC match. But temperatures, it's 70s. We can't see much of a cool down tonight. Tomorrow, it's technically getting closer to normal, 91. This will be our 26th day of 90 plus, but the rain chances really ramp up. You're looking at a 70% chance of rain tomorrow. Now, that's not an all-day rain, by the way. That's going to be mainly in the afternoon and evening. And as bad as the flood risk could be for a few folks, we need the rain. You can see the the drought monitor. Someone want to call it the flood monitor because it's almost going to be in the exact same spots. The drought monitor comes out every Thursday. And tonight you can see that we've got this area of abnormally dry conditions as well as moderate drought now showing up in the upstate of South Carolina. The brown areas are moderate drought, and we've got abnormally dry conditions in the Charlotte. So this area right in here has not seen much rain in July. Remember up where Tim is, Greensboro to Raleigh, they've seen too much rain, double-digit rainfall amounts in July, while down here we barely had 1.5 inches, 2 inches of rain. So we need the rain desperately. So I'm not going to be complaining too much tomorrow. We just don't want to see flooding. And then the other big story going into the weekend is this change. You remember last weekend, 101 and 102. That was your Saturday and Sunday highs. This week, we might not crack 80. I mean, that is a stunning reversal of a crazy heat wave from earlier in the week. And it's all coming with this cold front. That's why we're going to see the rain tomorrow, because it's basically going to move down here and kind of fall apart a little bit. That front moves down here, gets stuck for a while, produces some heavy rain and maybe some slow-moving storms. But the end result for Saturday and Sunday is this northeast flow. We call this the wedge or cold air damming. Typically, I don't ever talk about this in the summer because we don't get it. This is kind of a unique phenomenon here east of the mountains in the Carolinas and really sets a stage for some of the best weather we've had in a while. So let's go hour by hour. Put the temperatures on here because that's a big part of our future cast. Tonight, you see showers and storms lingering. We'll be in the 70s. Tomorrow, we'll go into the afternoon, probably close to 90. I think we're going to make it 26 in a row. But then the rain develops, and it gets pretty active around 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. And again, not everybody gets the rain, but the folks that do see it tomorrow, we're probably talking about the potential for some flash flooding with slow-moving storms. So just something to keep in mind. That storm will kind of weaken, but the rain could linger well into your Saturday morning. And that Saturday morning rain could be kind of a cool rain, upper 60s. We go into the afternoon, we're in the 70s all day long. Same story for Sunday, maybe 80 with some sunshine. So you're looking at some pretty dramatic changes for the weekend. And on top of all this, it's just not cooler. It's actually less humid. So the fact that we have less humid air, I think, makes this added bonus. Now, before we get there, we got to get through the rain, right? So we've got these rain chances tomorrow, medium risk. So what does this mean? Excessive rainfall outlook in the medium range means there's a 15% chance of flash flooding within 25 miles of anywhere on that map. So potentially we could see some flooding going on there. But Saturday, that system moves out, and we get into some much drier weather for Saturday and Sunday, though there will still be lingering showers. We're just not expecting the flash flood risk. How much rain? I could show this every day, and you see a different number for each location. The reason I show this is not to read into the specifics. We're not that good, and the modeling is not that good for us to know the exact precise amount of rainfall this far out. But what we know is the totals, you see the range, anywhere from 0.2 of an inch to almost 3 inches. That gives you an idea of the kind of scattered variety. And the fact that somebody is going to get that much rain, but not everybody, kind of shows you the scattered nature. But the potential is there that 2 or 3, 4 spots could get 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 inches of rain. So that's why you're seeing the elevated flood risk tomorrow, because that's mostly going to fall just tomorrow. And if you get these rainfall rates of 1, 2, 3 inches per hour, you certainly could see flooding with that. So the weekend forecast actually looks really, really nice. I mean, I know there's that rain on Saturday, but that 50% chance is really in the morning. So don't think this is going to be a washout. Saturday's a big day because that's actually going to be Panthers Fan Fest as well in Uptown at Bank of America Stadium. So if you're planning on going there, most years I would be worried about lightning and storms like we are tonight for Charlotte FC. This might be the first time where I would tell you bring a poncho or a jacket, not because we're worried about thunderstorms, but maybe some light rain and cool temperatures. 70s will feel dramatic to us, considering we've been 90 degrees or higher for 25 straight days. To not even crack 90 it would be great, but we may not crack 80 on Saturday. And Sunday, to me, the best day of the weekend. Boy, that's going to be nice. Low humidity, mostly sunny by the afternoon, and 77 to 80 degrees. That is going to feel fabulous, and what a break that will be. And the good news is it's not short-lived. This cool down is going to stick around. The 7-day forecast shows those cooler temperatures into next week. Remember, the average high is around 90 degrees. The average low is 70. So to have that many days in a row, and I'll have to go look at the data again because I know this is the coolest we have been since early June, but this stretch of coolness, I'd be hard-pressed to remember the last time we had that many days in a row below normal. This summer, which is now 2 months old, June, July, meteorological summer, there have been only 3 total days that have been below normal temperature-wise, and all of those have been either -1 or -2. This is going to be well below normal for 5 days in a row. We'll go 10 days in the future and show you, yeah, it could take all the way until next weekend for us to get back to 90. So this is a long, solid break from the extreme heat and kind of puts the brakes on our hot summer. We've had like I said, the hottest summer on record so far. This will probably drop us back down to number 2 or 3 as we go into the middle of next week. The first full week of August, though, looking pretty nice with cooler temperatures, less humid, but the rain and humidity will make a comeback. I love the fact that we got 70s for several nights in a row. Okay, so that's a look at our local forecast. We got a lot to talk about tonight with Tim. Tim has just got done doing his forecast for up there. We'll talk to him about the Wyndham, lightning. We got a crazy lightning stat to show you, tsunami animation, and maybe a couple other things. But Tim Buckley will be joining us here in mere seconds. All right, Tim, there you are. Welcome in, man.
We got to talk all about these things.
We got this transition down like that. It's perfect, right?
Yeah, we're figuring it out as we go along. Hopefully all's good down your way today.
Yeah, I'm loving the fact that it's getting cooler. We're getting some rain finally. We love the rain. You do not like the rain. I saw you kind of showing that graphic there. Not at the word end of July. For folks down here in the Charlotte area, south, we're all begging for rain. You guys are kind of sick of it because it's been a crazy dynamic of all the rain up there between you and Raleigh, actually triad to triangle. And down here in the southern Piedmont, we have seen almost nothing. So talk a little bit about what your July's like, and then give us an update on the Wyndham forecast, because it actually looked pretty good up there today.
Yeah, not to bury the lead, there were no stoppages to play at the Wyndham so far today. I just checked the leaderboard. I think they have 3 holes left, so things are looking good. But you mentioned, as far as our area up here in the Triad, totally different than the Charlotte area. It's been a very wet July. Was just pulling up a couple of stats for our viewers up here, but this is kind of relevant for anybody living in central North Carolina, especially between Greensboro and Raleigh. Wow. Up this way, we had over 9 inches of rain in Greensboro. But you might remember this, Brad. I showed this about 7-8 days ago. We were at 9 inches of rain then. So actually, PTI in Greensboro hasn't had much rain over the last week. So wow. We didn't get a big jaw-dropping, top finish or anything. But still, it's been very wet. What I also pulled, and us weather guys, if you don't know us that well, we love a good stat and we love a good number. This is kind of I didn't expect to get this today. So we got 72.4 for our average low temperature this month. That's the warmest low temperature average for any month on record in Greensboro. And so we go back to 1903. There's not been a month that warm with that many muggy nights around here. So what that kind of just goes to show you is we've had so much humidity. We've had the most dew point hours above 70, the most humidity that's uncomfortable to date up here in Greensboro. And this month it really just kind of shown itself that, hey, when you get that humid, you can't really cool down at night. And so it's going to be uncomfortable. Just to bring back the Wyndham into into this quickly, when we look at the radar, most of these showers and storms are down by Charlotte today, or at least kind of getting closer to you. Up here, we've kind of had a little dome over us for a change, and they've all been dancing around us. So if you're not familiar with the golf tournament, the Wyndham Championship, it's kind of positioned right in between Greensboro and High Point. I've got that little golf ball right there on your location here, and it's been totally dry so far today. So I think the only day we have to worry about the rest of the way would be tomorrow. We're looking at your round 2 for Friday. That's a possibility. You could have a couple showers or storms popping up in the afternoon, and it's either going to be great or bad because those storms aren't going to move very quickly. So after 2 o'clock, it's a little bit of a gamble for the spectators, but once you get into round 3 and round 4, that's going to be the good stuff. Saturday looks really nice, maybe a little drizzle in the morning, but then the Sunday looks perfect. So round 4, 70s for temperatures, dew points maybe as low as like 59 degrees. We're excited about that. I think it's going to be comfortable out there at Sedgefield as someone hoists the trophy out there.
Yeah, I think we're all excited for this weekend. I've actually cut back my temperatures a little bit. I had low 80s, and I'm going to go upper 70s probably for at least Saturday and close to 80 for Sunday. It's interesting you brought up that low stat because I think we're going to end up I have to look at ours, but we're going to blow away our all-time warmest low temperature for July as well. We're number 2 for overall temperature. But I saw an interesting stat. Now, while you were talking, I was trying to pull it up. Ben Knoll, who's a great meteorologist at the Washington Post, he posted an amazing graphic today. It showed the most humid Julys on record, and I think all of North Carolina was number 1 for the most humid July, and that's based on dew point, which we know we're team dew point here. So the highest dew point average for any July for the state of North Carolina was this July. So I think you hit on something. It has been, those nighttime lows are directly tied to how muggy it is because it just can't cool down at night.
It really can. I think I found this chart that you were mentioning from Ben here, so I'll pop it up if we can pop it full. This is, and thanks to Ben for this stat because he pulled out all the data here. But any state that you see that's that darker shade of green with the number 1 on it, they've had their highest humidity ranking for July. And so I think what we saw a lot of earlier this month was all the flash flooding in multiple different states. But it's tied in with this. When there's water in the air, it comes down. And we're seeing that today in the Northeast. They're having some flooding again. But it's the humidity that's uncomfortable. And it's the rain that can be, problematic, expensive, and create some disasters. Looks like from Michigan to Mississippi, from Missouri to North Carolina, everybody up there at number 1, and not even to sleep on the places like Florida, that's number 3, New York number 4, Texas number 2. That's a lot of humidity to deal with, and I don't know if I have an exact reason for that, Brad. Maybe you have a thought. We have just the right positioning of the highs and lows that kind of cranked that tropical moisture northward.
Yeah, it is weird because I remember earlier in July there was a similar post from Ben talking about precipitable water values being crazy high over the first 2 weeks of July. So there was something going on atmospheric because you're right, the flood warnings and the humidity have just been so just crazy across the eastern half of the country. And I'd be remiss, and Jeb, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. You mentioned flash flooding. As you were talking, we got a flash flood warning down our way, so I just want to pass this along to everybody. Not too far from you guys, too, Tim. This is out in Stanley County near Albemarle. So that storm that was south of you guys has actually produced a flash flood warning for Stanley County till 8:15. Now, the reason they had the flood warning, they had a storm stationary over them earlier today. This is their second storm of the day, so that's that dreaded training that we talk about. And so we're seeing 2 storms there. And I'll just quickly show you the estimates there because the rainfall estimates in Stanley County, wow, that's pretty high. I'm going to show real quick. Looks like west of Albemarle, kind of southeast amount, 5 inches of rain today. So that will definitely cause flash flooding. So just a heads up to our people watching in central North Carolina that are watching. We've got some heavy storms there, and flooding is going to be an issue. We'll likely see some more of this tomorrow, Tim, because I'm worried we're going to see more of these slow-moving storms throughout the afternoon.
I think so, too. When you have that front kind of backing up into us, you can throw some moisture over top of it, and that could affect the motion. It could affect the speed, and It's something that it's been highlighted for a couple of days that there is a higher flood risk when it comes to Friday, and I think that's something we got to watch out for. It's the frustrating part is we can't tell you which county has the highest risk of that. It's just not really within our ability in 2025. But somebody's going to have some flooding problems tomorrow in the Carolinas, and probably closer to that Charlotte area than the Greensboro area. But something to watch for Friday, similar to what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and so just to your point, even in that county where we have the flash flood warning, there's just one area with 5.3 inches. The rest of the county, almost none. And I don't know if you looked at the drought monitor today, Tim, but I thought this was interesting. You just talked about all the rain you guys had in July, but you've had a break. I'm going to show the drought monitor real quickly. We've got moderate drought for the upstate of South Carolina into some of our counties and abnormally dry conditions. It's hard to imagine that we're in this state and then you go up towards you. And you guys actually, like you said, 9 inches is a lot, but there's some areas like Burlington and over towards Durham and Chapel Hill. I think they're like double digit, maybe a foot of rain in July, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so I haven't updated this graphic. I was going to get to that today, and that'll be something I try to do later. But I do have pulled up on my Max here.
Wow. Look at those
biggest
totals.
rain totals in central North Carolina. This is from earlier in the month mostly, so there might be a higher number than that now. But at least over 17 inches. Burlington, Yanceyville, Mebane, Hillsborough, that's right over by Chapel Hill. And again, these probably are a little bit higher now. We'll refresh this for you and maybe have it again tomorrow in case it's interesting. But pretty crazy stuff just to see the difference place to place. And I already showed you Greensboro, 30 miles down the road, 9 inches. So that's a lot, but that's half of that. Right?
That blows my mind that we are like at a deficit down here. And that's some of these places are only an hour and a half, 2 hours away. It's not that far away. So, yeah, that's crazy. You think you live in a bubble. We clearly were in some kind of weird bubble down here because we got none of it. So, Tim, we got a lot going on tomorrow and big changes for the weekend. But we wanted to talk about two things that came up today. One, we wanted to revisit the tsunami and earthquake. We talked a lot about this. It was Wednesday. It's Thursday. This happened Tuesday night. So we talked a little bit yesterday. But today, NOAA released their animation of the tsunami, which, by the way, ended up being a little bit smaller than we anticipated, but it still was a basin-wide tsunami. And the crazy thing about this, I think when people see this, is how widespread the tsunami was. They actually detected almost a half-foot wave in Antarctica, and it took a whole day for it to get there. This stuff is fascinating, but it also is kind of puzzling, too. They don't know why the tsunami was super big compared to previous quakes. Because think about this. This was an 8.8. A 7.4 in the same area caused a deadly tsunami in Hawaii in the 1950s. This one was almost 300 times stronger, and the tsunami wasn't that bad. And I don't know if you saw some of the research, but there's like people speculating why that is, but we just don't know, to be honest with you, in some cases, why this is.
Yeah, and that's kind of the amazing thing, but like you said, the frustrating thing too. And certainly in real time, it's uncertain or uneasy as someone who might be relaying warnings to people. Tsunamis are kind of weather, but they're more geology. It's not a good feeling to have that uncertainty of, tell me how high this wave is going to be and how big of a deal is it going to be. You don't always know that in the moment, and it can vary from the depth of the earthquake or the type of the earthquake. But at the same time, we have events that look pretty similar throughout history. And like you said, some of them were really, really bad. Others, like this one, was pretty manageable for most areas across the basin.
Yeah, Jeb, can you show my laptop? I'm gonna try to play this so you can see this. This is the animation. You can see the origination, and this is also mesmerizing to see how the waves react when they hit islands. And also something to notice if you're watching this, watch how the waves bounce off of some of the islands and continents and get reflected back into other waves and could create bigger waves. And again, this is over about a 24-hour period. So you see the waves hitting Hawaii in about 6 hours. They're still traveling south, and it took a whole 24 hours for the leading edge of the waves to get down towards Antarctica. They actually affected New Zealand and the west coast of South America. It is just crazy, but the thing is, you just don't know because the oceans are big and we have a lot of data, but we just don't have a lot of coverage of buoys and other information. And one thing I saw one researcher say that he was speculating, he doesn't know for sure. He was curious because some of the big tsunamis with these subduction zone earthquakes also have underwater landslides that accompany them. And with this one, they were speculating that possibly there were no landslides that would have made the tsunami bigger. So that was one thing I saw, but I did think it was really fascinating to see that was still a tsunami. It did not happen. I think a lot of folks think it was just all hype. It just wasn't as big as what we possibly could have seen, and thank goodness it wasn't that big.
Really good news. I mean, you even had those videos that I know it didn't hurt anybody, but if you watch, I think it was from San Francisco, it was one of the harbors there or somewhere in their National Weather Services service area, and they showed you that they were bouncing up and down effectively over a couple of minute period because you got those different waves kind of coming in back to back. So it was a thing, and it's mind-boggling that amount of energy can travel those many thousands of miles, like you said, to Antarctica. Crazy.
Yeah, and I had a great question on my Facebook page when I posted this. People are like, "What's the difference between tsunami waves and regular waves?" And the only thing I can really tell you is tsunami waves go through the entire column of the water. Normal ocean waves are just on the surface. So they only happen up there. They don't happen below the water surface. So these tsunamis go all the way to the seabed. That's what makes them so dangerous, because as the seabed comes up, they can get larger. And as you mentioned, in California, there was a little bit of damage in Crescent City. I saw that they had a dock or part of the port was actually damaged because that was the biggest wave that they saw in California. It was like almost 5 feet. So it was significant, and that's due to the shape of Crescent City. It's got a weird shape. Something else cool that came out today, and I saw this the first thing I woke up, and I don't know what it is, Tim. We cannot escape talking about lightning. Lightning is following us around.
True. Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, we're attracted, but crazy research that is old, believe it or not. Well, the research is new, but it was old data. Researchers went back and looked at the Global Lightning Mapper, which was an instrument put on the GOES 16, which is a really cool instrument. It can actually see lightning from space. They went back and detected, I think they used some AI to help filter through all the imagery. They found this, get this, and this will blow your mind, a lightning strike that was 517 miles long. That's a world record, and it was certified by the WMO.
Crazy.
And so, when you saw this, Tim, did it just blow your mind or what?
I had to make sure I had my coffee because, like you said, it was early in the morning, and that's just it's such a definitive statement too that oh no, this isn't a maybe, like this happened, this is how big it was, and it really is more of a cluster of lightning that just went over such a large area. And you guys might hear us say this on the news every now and then, not that often, but a MCS, what we would call a mesoscale convective system. It's just a big cluster of thunderstorms. That's all you need to know. But this is not one thunderstorm acting alone. It can't really do that. It's almost more like a mesh network of sorts that it can kind of a spider lightning of senses. Is that the way that you would describe it, as I understand it from the paper?
Yeah, so I read a lot of it, and there was so much good information in the paper, by the way. That they actually had how long this lightning strike was active, like 7.13 seconds. So think about a lightning strike lasting 7 seconds. This strike was a cloud to cloud, so it was in the clouds. But below it, it actually initialized 116 separate cloud to ground strikes, which you see in the image there. And the other thing, this new phrase, which I had never heard until this paper, a bolt from the gray. We know about a bolt from the blue, which is when you get a lightning bolt from the side of a storm and it's sunny over you. This lightning strike occurred on the back of the MCS, where there's typically what we call stratiform rain. It's really not thunderstorms anymore. It's just regular rain. The big lightning is usually at the beginning of these things. But they kind of theorized that this could be an issue in the future, that even if you get into stratiform rain and that cloud cluster, like you said, the MCS, is attached to other storms, there's still a chance you could get hit by lightning.
And we've seen this before. I mean, just observationally, I've noticed before when we have a line of storms blow through, it's stratiform behind it, it's cloudy out there, but you still have lightning streaking through the sky for a while. But 515 miles, just to put that in perspective, I just drew a couple things on my map here. This
Wow.
is basically going from Charlotte to St. Louis, or from Greensboro to New York City, or from Charlotte to the Gulf Coast. I mean, that's how long we're talking about with this lightning strike. And like we said, this is a world record. And it's in
Yeah.
the United States, as most records when it comes to severe storms are. The U.S. is pretty good at making bad storms.
Yeah.
And we've done it for a while. I guess we'll keep doing it too.
Yeah, we've got the tornadoes, the thunderstorm, the lightning. There's very few places in the world that get the weather we get here. And just to answer a lot of the questions I got online, and I'm sure people are asking right now, Tim, no, this does not change lightning safety criteria because you don't need to have a 500-mile radius for an event. This was just a rare event, but I think it does tell us that the thing about meteorology that I think I still love is that no matter how long you do this, Tim, you always learn something new. It feels like all the time.
Always more to learn, and that's why we keep studying it and keep reading those papers, I guess.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. We're out of time. Fascinating stuff tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Probably talking a lot flash flooding.